Salutations everyone, this is Razor here giving you my thoughts on steroids and PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, for those of you that don't know, so we can be quite clear on what I'm talking about in today's episode. So, my thoughts on steroids and PEDs, this is a subscriber requested topic that I thought would be awesome, something that I definitely have some passionate thoughts about, and the whole Lance Armstrong thing is just kind of a bonus. I was going to talk about it anyway, but definitely since that's in the limelight, something that we can touch on additionally. But originally the subject brought up by my subscriber was to talk about the Hall of Fame and their decision to not elect any new members to the Hall of Fame this year in baseball. And that's only the third time that they've ever done that. First time since 1996 or 98, I believe. So only the second time in my lifetime that they have made such a decision. It was a very interesting choice since a lot of new members a lot of people are more eligible this year. And a lot of those people come from the era of the late 90s, early 2000s, and that's basically known as the steroid era. Obviously it extends to further reaches than that, but that's when those players' careers were in the limelight. Back in 1998 when Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa were in that historic home run race, which was at the time really good for baseball. It brought back a lot of fans that had left after the strike induced season of previous years. So that home run contest meant a lot to baseball in 1998. It was really amazing and historic. I remember watching back in 98 of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire going at it for that home run record, seeing if someone could beat the all-time single-season home run record that Roger Maris set in 1961. So it was a 37-year-old record that still stood the test of time, which was, there weren't very many records, especially in baseball, that had lasted that long, and Roger Maris' single-season home run record was one of them, after having beaten Babe Ruth, although not given the credit at the time because the season had been extended. It was still Maris's record, and we had two people going at it, just like in 1961 when we had Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle both going after Babe Ruth's record, which was 60 at the time. So it was a big thing. They both beat it. McGwire set the record at 70, and that was a big thing. A few years later, along comes Barry Bonds and breaks the record at 73. And at that time, people were very, very suspicious about these records that just kept getting broken. All of a sudden, Sammy Sosa, hit more than 60 home runs in 3 seasons. And after 37 years of nobody breaking it, 3 people break it in just a few years. So it was very suspicious. And they all took steroids. Every single one of them. Sosa took steroids. McGwire admitted to using steroids. Bonds admitted to use steroids. Regardless of what some of his fans choose to believe, he did admit using performance-enhancing drugs, rubbing on the clear. And a lot of people want to make the argument that, well, that steroid that he was using wasn't technically against the rules, so he didn't cheat. And it's like, come on, people. That's cheating. It's like if you're playing basketball and it's like, well, it wasn't against the rules to put flubber tabs on my shoes so I can jump higher. That's cheating, even though the thing that you're using wasn't specifically detailed in the rules because it hadn't been invented yet. That doesn't mean that you're not cheating. You're gaining an unfair advantage on your opponent. One of Lance Armstrong's justifications in his interview with Oprah was that cheating is to gain an advantage on an opponent, and he thought that he wasn't doing this, that he was playing on a level playing field, which is more of a justification in his case than in baseball, because not everyone, but everyone in cycling was using some sort of performance enhancing drug, or 2 or 3 in his case. It was and it probably is still the most corrupt sport in the world, professional cycling. Everyone was using steroids. He used performance enhancing drugs in all 7 of his Tour de France title wins. Tyler Hamilton was using performance enhancing drugs. The guy who, after Lance won all 7 of his titles, whoever that European one who won, he was caught using performance-enhancing drugs. Floyd Landis, the last American to quote-unquote win it, was using performance-enhancing drugs. So it wasn't a new thing. People before Armstrong used steroids, and people long after Armstrong used steroids, and probably will continue to do so in the future, especially those that cannot be traced. And but it'll be less so because the testing has become more aggressive and more thorough throughout the training course of those people. But steroids is cheating, people. There's no way around it. A lot of ignorant people love to make the same uh, statements over and over again. It's like, oh yeah, well, it makes you stronger or whatever, but it doesn't, it doesn't mean that all that other training went to waste. It's not going to help your hand-eye coordination. So Barry Bonds, really would have hit in all those home runs anyway, and that is not the case, people. Steroids doesn't make you strong. That's not the thing that it does. It helps you build muscle growth a lot quicker than normally. It'll help you recover a lot faster. It improves your hand-eye coordination. This is all tested stuff. This is not just conjecture or opinion, people. This is science. Steroids helps you in many, many different things outside of getting stronger, which, as we know, is an important part of hitting home runs, but it's not the only thing. And not just home runs, pitchers are more guilty of using steroids than hitters in the past. At least more of them have been caught, tested positive for steroids, especially since so many people who hit home runs are going to be subject to that sort of criticism, especially as we hear more things like with the Mitchell report, or Alex Rodriguez coming forward saying that he used steroids when he was in Texas from 2002 to 2005 or whatever it was. It's a shame knowing that these good players resulted to using steroids in order to boost their numbers. But an even bigger shame is the clean people, the people that played the game right, the way that it should be played, and unfortunately, their entire career is going to be tainted due to the fact that they played at the same time as these bona fide cheaters, who took shortcuts and cheated. Steroids is cheating, no matter how you look at it, people. There's no justification for it. So unfortunately, players such as Craig Biggio and Mike Piazza will forever have people thinking and criticizing the numbers in their careers, regardless of their body types or how their numbers were crunched throughout their career, and how they don't match up with steroid users. Even though Mike Piazza is the all-time leading home run king of catchers all time, his entire career was very consistent. He never hit over 40 in more than one season. He was just a very consistent player throughout his entire career. As he aged, his career definitely went on a decline in the past 6 or 7 years or so. His body type never really changed, and that's something that a lot of people don't really realize when it comes to like home run hitters. It's like some of these guys were always big, so you can't pin on steroids to their muscle growth, like a Mo Vaughn or a Prince Fielder or Jeff Bagwell. These were all always ginormous men that just hit home runs at a consistent basis. Steroids doesn't justify the numbers that they put up, so it's a shame that these people will forever be lumped into this era, regardless if they use steroids or not. We'll never really know, unfortunately. But for this a little guy like Craig Biggio who hit 3,000 hits, and was played catcher and played outfield. There's so many All-Star games, and being an Astro his entire career. You can't say that Craig Biggio was a steroid user. He's this tiny little dude who didn't hit home runs, okay? He got hit by more balls than he hit out of the park, for crying out loud. You can't put these guys in the same boat and deny them a first ballot Hall of Fame induction. And I hope the Hall of Fame wises up. They shouldn't let in people like Clemens or Bonds that we or McGuire, so that we know are admitted steroid users and or just cheated in their baseball career, regardless of the numbers they would have gotten without it. Matter of the fact is that they cheated. I'm sure down the road, they're not going to, lock out Ichiro Suzuki from the Hall of Fame, but he'll be a special case because people are really going to want an Asian in the Hall of Fame, and he deservedly so should be in the Hall of Fame because he's one of the greatest players ever. And I'm sure that they won't lock him out for those reasons, but in the same fact. Craig Biggio should be considered in the same sentence as Ichiro Suzuki when it comes to the whole steroid argument, because he's just a tiny guy that hit 3,000, base hits, and people who had consistent success in the career that had no ginormous increases in numbers as they got older, like admitted steroid users such as Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire. But those are just my thoughts, guys. Keep the cheaters out and give the benefit of the doubt to most other people that have nothing going for the argument of them being steroid users. As far as Lance Armstrong goes, it's sad. I always thought that he was clean. I defended him, but he deserves all the negative attention that he's getting. It's a shame that the awesome story that he had turns out not really be true. And on a side note, just let Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson in the Hall of Fame now. I mean, just come on, this bullshit.